Hello and welcome to the United Stand. How are you all doing? Lots to talk about. Jose Mourinho's midfield crisis, handing manager of the month to Jurgen Klopp, and mod wars, which we'll talk about a little bit later on for anybody who's interested. But in all seriousness, 24 hours since the debacle that was the Spurs game. Sometimes I think it's good to have a little bit of radio silence. I've not been on since last night, and it's certainly given me lots of opportunity to think about United, where we are, where we're going, and what the issues are, which we'll develop in the show, and it'd be interesting to get some of your points as well. But let's start with the headline. Let's start with the headline that Mourinho has a midfield crisis, and he did come out yesterday, I think it was, and he said that he will be signing a midfielder in the summer anyway because Michael Carrick's leaving. But if Marouane Fellaini leaves, he will be signing another midfielder. Personally, I think that is right and wrong. Wrong because I think we needed a midfielder now, which I'll talk about in a moment, and right because we do need two midfielders if Fellaini and Carrick go. But I actually do think, and it's been proven with Pogba's form yesterday, Pogba's form when he's not played, when Pogba doesn't play well or Pogba doesn't play, Manchester United as a midfield are redundant, unimaginative and static. Pogba played badly yesterday. We were all those things. Pogba didn't play at all in October. We were all those things. We needed to go and get somebody who can play in the midfield, who can be a little bit more expansive. And maybe there's not anybody around at the moment, but that is certainly what we need to address in the summer, as far as I'm concerned. So why does Mourinho have a midfield crisis beyond the obvious situation that we have at the moment, where he might need to buy a couple of players in the summer? Well, when you actually go through it, there's two things that are quite interesting, and I touched on it last night. When you look at Jose Mourinho's discount Alexis Sanchez because he's only just been bought. When you look at Jose Mourinho's 7 signings as of now, you've got Mkhitaryan who's been sold, you've got Bailly who's injured, you've got Zlatan who's injured, you've got Pogba who he subbed off after an hour, you've got Matic who has been poor for 2 months, you've got Lukaku who is under a lot of scrutiny as well, you've got Lindelof who can't even get on the bench. And I remember saying before, even this season, apart from, you can't really say any of Mourinho's signings have been a flop. And it's funny how things can change because at the moment they're all under a lot of scrutiny. But bringing it back to the midfield crisis, we definitely are in a problem at the moment. Paul Pogba is so pivotal to what Manchester United are going to achieve this season. When he's playing well, United look unstoppable. When he's playing like last night, we look redundant, like I said. So Pogba is an issue, but he's a solvable issue. Matic is like the player last season that I didn't want us to sign in the summer, and I got a lot of stick because he had a really good start to his campaign at United against lesser opposition. I'd say for the last 2 months, apart from the Arsenal game, he's been really poor. Matic is certainly under scrutiny. Carrick, if we could have Carrick of 5 years ago, we'd have been sorted yesterday. He's not a waste of time. Michael Carrick's never a waste of time, but we know he's coming to the end of his career and he's going in the summer, and he certainly can't play 2 games a week. So he's not really anybody we can really use in any real sense. McTominay, whether he's good enough or not, is a kid. Herrera, I mean, in relation to Herrera, I've always been a massive fan of his, but this season he's dreadful. I think what happened with Herrera is I think he wanted to go to Barcelona in the summer because it's his old manager from Bilbao, and United wouldn't let him go, and I think it's destroyed the relationship, and I don't think his head's in the right place, because how can somebody go from being our player of the year last year to being as poor as he is this year? So Herrera's no good either. And then obviously we've got Fellaini, who, well, Fellaini's Fellaini. So our midfield at the moment is a crisis for Mourinho. We're going into the most important part of the season. We should still get top 4, but it's not definite after that loss last night. Champions League, why did we ever think we were going to win the Champions League? We're not going to win the Champions League unless this midfield sorts it out quick. And FA Cup probably is our best chance of cup silverware. But you can't win football games when your midfield is poor. And I don't see any solution in our midfield at the moment unless Paul Pogba gets his game on properly and Matic finds some form that he doesn't seem to have for the last 2 months. Because Carrick, McTominay, Herrera and Fellaini, they don't cut the mustard, do they? They don't cut the mustard at all. And in fact, it looks like Fellaini might be out for about 2 months now with this knee problem. I mean, let me just bring that in. I just want to say that. Look, Mesut Ozil signed the new contract for Arsenal today, and he came out with a fantastic quote. At the end of the day, I listened to my heart. And of course, the naive, stupid Gunners that they are, they're all lapping it up. Oh, Mesut, wow, you can't blame him, everything like that. they don't even have the depth of a worm's grave to think about the actual reality there. The reality is that Mesut Ozil's refused to sign a contract at Arsenal for 2.5 years. He's ran it down to the very last day, and then basically Arsenal have chucked a load of money at him and he wants to stay in London. He's not nothing to do with his heart. It's about his wallet. If he loved Arsenal, he'd have signed the contract they had on the table for him 2 years ago. It's nonsense. And I hope that when Marouane Fellaini signs his new contract, because I guarantee he will, I hope he doesn't come out and try and mug us off, because the Manchester United fan community is not on the same level as Arsenal. We're like a tower block higher than them when it comes to intelligence. And if he comes out with the words that my heart was always at Manchester United, I think I'll physically throw up on the live stream, because your heart's not at Manchester United and you're not Mesut Ozil. You're not one of the best players in the Premier League. You're a run-of-the-mill midfielder who's held us to ransom because you want more money than you're worth. You've risked it because you know Mourinho's your foster dad, and actually you're really lucky that Mourinho thinks a lot of you, because the situation that you've rolled the dice and it's gone wrong. You're out of contract, you've got a serious injury, and United could just say, you know what, you've messed us around, off you go. Bye-bye. Off you go, you contract rebel. That's not going to happen because Mourinho loves him and he wants him to stay. But I don't want to hear him saying, oh, my heart was always at Manchester United, I always wanted to stay. We've offered him a decent contract. He's not worth more than 100 grand a week. I think he's been offered about 120 if you believe the rumours. He wants about 170. It's way more than he's worth. He's a contract rebel, and I don't want to hear it. When he signs the contract, I don't want to hear, oh, my heart was always here, because that's nonsense. I understand he's got to get a living wage, but he wants way too much money for what he is. And you know what? As Alex said, I'll throw him under the bus here. I don't wish injury on any player, whether it's an opposition player and certainly not a United player. But with him out for 8 weeks, I think it's a positive. If he can't be on the pitch for Manchester United, I see that as a positive. I think we'll be absolutely fine without him. But without Fellaini, it does take an option away. And the midfield is a concern for United at the moment. He's going to have to solve that problem in the summer. Carrick will go. Fellaini, we can dream, will go. I don't think he will. But I think Milankovic, Savic and Fabinho would be the ideal too. But you could also throw Jorginho in from Napoli, Seri in from Nice. But as I said, I did an article on the website today. Let's not forget that Mourinho wanted Eric Dyer over Matic, and he wasn't allowed to pay the 60 million that Spurs wanted. So he might end up going for him. We'll have to just wait and see. Let's have a look at some of your comments, because I do want to talk about there's quite a few things. Fortune Ochibiri, don't preach what I've been preaching for bloody years. Tahith Chong is the one, Mark, believe me. Like Fortune's saying it like he's the first person to say it. I've been on about Tahith Chong for a long time. I said Tahith Chong is better than Gomez in my eyes, and I think he'll be more successful. But it's great to have both players in all seriousness. Callum Labram says, my perfect team would be De Gea, Luke Shaw, Eric Bailly, Twansibi, Fosu Mensah, Pogba, Tahith Chong, Angel Gomez, Marshall Rashford and Andreas Pereira. That's my team I'd love to see. In relation to Andreas Pereira, he has given an interview today, or was it yesterday, basically saying it was tough to go against Mourinho's advice because Mourinho wanted him to stay, but he wanted to go and get minutes, and he'll come back a better player to Manchester United for that. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that does mean that we will see Pereira back in the summer like a new signing as well, because I think he's a fantastic player. Shaka Phillips. Shaka, I normally think you come out with good things, but could Rojo play in centre defensive midfielder? No, he could not. No, he couldn't. In reality, we are not a good footballing team compared to other top teams. We've got no identity, says John Morris. I think United are struggling for an identity at the moment. But I think we can play good football, and I think with the likes of Alexis Sanchez and Martial in the team, then we have got really good footballers. But as I said at the start of the video, the problem Manchester United have is that if Pogba plays badly, he's the only one in the midfield who's got anything about him. The rest of them are just really redundant when it comes to creating things. There was an interesting thing last night that apparently Mourinho was really unhappy with Chris Smalling because Chris Smalling was trying to play out from the back. Now, whether Chris Smalling's capable of playing out from the back, I mean, even Gareth Southgate gave him some heat saying he can't. Surely that's, if you flip it the other way, if Mourinho was moaning at Smalling for trying to play out from the back, what the only alternative is that Mourinho, when Smalling gets the ball, is want him to hit along. Because if he doesn't want him to play out from the back, the only other way of playing forward is the long ball. So I think it was the Manchester Evening News or somebody was being quite negative about it, saying it was Chris Smalling's fault that United kept getting penned in because he was trying to play out from the back. But they've not had the intelligence to flip it the other way and go, well, if Smalling hadn't played out from the back, we'd have just been hitting futile long balls to Lukaku, who didn't hold it up and got dominated. So I thought that was quite an interesting thing as well. Apparently Gary Neville blames Chris Smalling for the first goal. I think he was a part of it, just like Phil Jones was a part of it, losing the 50-50 header with Harry Kane. But I think when you go start looking for people to blame for those sort of things, when there's a blatantly obvious person at fault, Ashley Young, fell asleep and let Ericsson run past him, I don't think you can really have a pop at Jones and Smalling. As bad as they were last night, it was Ashley Young's fault for me. Bobby De Niro X says Mourinho was proper stroking Fellaini when he came off. I like Jose Mourinho, as many people know, and I want him as our manager, but I will never ever accept or enjoy the obsession he has with Marouane Fellaini. I don't know. I know there are a few people out there who do like Fellaini, but I think the vast majority, and Mourinho's got to be very, very careful on this, because when you have a result like last night, or you have results like we had a month ago where we were dropping points to teams like Southampton and Burnley at home, when you're in that situation, you put yourself in a bit of a vulnerable position as a manager. Then when you are openly having an obsession about Marouane Fellaini, who is not really a United player in many people's eyes, it irritates fans and it will turn fans against him in a way. Not I would turn against Mourinho because I think he's fantastic, but I don't like his Fellaini thing. I mean, I don't know about you lot, but I find myself sort of worried that Martial's going to start on Saturday now, because Martial's always the fall guy, isn't he? Martial's always the one that, even though everybody else played badly and some played a lot worse than him, I just think Martial will probably get dumped out of the team for Rashford on Saturday, which is just the sort of thing that Mourinho would do because he doesn't like Martial, does he? But hopefully that won't be the case. In fact, Mourinho, let me just bring this in as well. Jose in, says Shiva. Yeah, definitely. We're not Jose out. Luis Garcia makes a good point about Daley Blind. He says, where is Daley Blind? Well, we thought he might go to Roma last night. Can't even get on our bench, but we've kept him. Weird. Hopefully he'll go in the summer with Darmian, because again, he's another player who I don't rate too much. But I want to mention this. You might have read the website article on theunitedstand.com. Do visit the website. Lots of good articles going up there in the day. Pep Guardiola won't win Manager of the Month this year. He was going for 5 in a row. I think he already had a record with 4 in a row. He won't win Manager of the Month this year, this month of January. It gets announced tomorrow. Mourinho had it firmly in his hands. Now, it doesn't count FA Cup games or transfer signings. It's all about the FA Premier League and the results you have. Mourinho had it in his hands. All he needed to do last night was not get beat by Spurs. Obviously he did. So Mourinho had taken it from Guardiola, had it firmly in his hands, puts on a tactical nightmare against Spurs and loses, and in the process takes the Manager of the Month thing. You're going to love it. Manager of the Month, and hands it to, you won't, Clown Klopp. Clown Klopp is going to win Manager of the Month because Mourinho blew it last night. I mean, it's one thing Pep Guardiola winning it, but it's one thing having it in your hands, Jose, and passing it to Klopp, who is the, he's got Klopp at Liverpool. They might be able to beat teams every now and again, but he's got a worse win ratio than Brendan Bloody Rodgers, and he's going to win Manager of the Month. Why is he going to win Manager of the Month? Because Liverpool, United and City have got the best record. They've all won 3 games and they've all lost 1 game. Pep won't win it because the game they lost was to Liverpool, so it'd be ridiculous to give it to Pep when Klopp's got the same sort of record and Klopp beat him. When it comes to United and Liverpool, we've both beaten Burnley. Liverpool have beaten West Brom, Man City, but lost to Swansea. Sorry, they've beaten Huddersfield and Man City, but lost to Swansea. We've beaten Everton and Stoke, but lost to Spurs. When you look at it, Everton's a better team than Huddersfield, and we've conceded less, and Liverpool have scored more. But what you know what's going to happen, because Liverpool beat Man City and broke their record, and because we've got the same results as each other, they're going to give it to Klopp. And all Mourinho needed to do was get a point, and it would have been the only manager who was unbeaten in January. So Jurgen Klopp is going to be announced as Premier League Manager of the Month tomorrow, unless there's a major shock and they give it to Mourinho. But that irritates me as well. I mean, it's Mourinho's award, and hopefully he's more irritated than all of us. But we never should have. The least we should have come out of Wembley last night with was a point, and we've opened the door up a little bit to Spurs, haven't we? Yeah, let's take some of your comments. Pogba needs to play in a 3, says Crystal Tips 04. Well, you know what? In relation to Paul Pogba, I think you're right that he does need to play in a midfield 3 and that's his best position. But I also read something before and it's very true. If Paul Pogba is truly going to be world class and if Paul Pogba is truly top class, the top class stroke world class players are not players that can only play in one position with certain players. World class players, top class players can play in numerous positions and express themselves. And at the moment, that's a poor excuse for Pogba to say, I can only play in a 3. Because you should be able to play in other positions as well. Brevy Boy says, angry at the lack of passion shown by Manchester United. For anybody who watches the watch-alongs, I was very excited, like many people, and I was very confident about United last night. But if you go back to about 10 minutes before kick-off, the one thing I did say, and it's the one thing that really leaves us as United fans in a very difficult position, and it's been like it for a number of years now, and it wasn't like it under Sir Alex Ferguson. You always knew it with the Sir Alex Ferguson team, barring the odd hiccup, you know, maybe once or twice a year, that Manchester United would go and give 100%. They wouldn't always win games, but they'd go and give 100%. It was taken for granted. Under United, as a United fan over the last few years, whether it's been Moyes or Van Gaal or Mourinho, you still get games quite regularly where you think we're going to win, but the players don't turn up because they don't respect and give 100% for the badge. Now, maybe that's the modern footballer. I mean, Chelsea lost 3-0 to Bournemouth at home last night. That should never happen. Arsenal have lost games this season. The only ones who have been very consistent are Manchester City. Everybody's lost silly games. But it was never a trait of Manchester United because Manchester United, it was, you know, live, breathe and bleed for the club and run through brick walls. And we have got some players who do that, but we've got a lot of players who every now and again, they just totally switch off and don't turn up. And as much as I love Anthony Martial, I think he falls into that category as well. It's a mentality in the club that if you did drop a Roy Keane in there, the whole team would up their levels. We haven't got a leader. Valencia's not a leader. I thought he was one of our best players last night. But he's not a leader. I don't think he even understands English that well. But he's not a leader. We don't have a leader on that pitch. Pogba's never going to be a leader of Manchester United. He may well be a captain. He's not a leader. He's having too many conversations and battles in his own head. He's a bit like Rooney. Captaincy never suited him because he's one of them players that's, you know, almost fighting with himself. And, you know, like most people like Roy Keane, when they lost the game, it probably lived with them for the week and they were probably frustrated. Some of our players, they get back in the dressing room after a loss and they're filming themselves doing the latest dance move. It's great when you're winning. The dabs and the dancing and the great humour and the jokes, they're great when you're winning. But when you're losing, they are things that you are going to get beat with. And I'm not going to beat him about it, but I've seen a lot of people slagging off Pogba with his dabs and Lingard today and saying, you know, big game and you go missing again. And, you know, you can be messy Lingard when you're scoring a worldie against a crap team at home or away in the cup, but you're missing Lingard when it's a big team, and that's where you're going to be judged. But going back to what I said there, that is the problem with Manchester United. We were all excited last night. We look at the starting 11. It's a fantastic 11. I was very confident about that 11, but then it dropped into my head a few minutes before kickoff. Only if we turn up, because we do see with United sometimes they just don't turn up. And for years and years, you never had that concern because you knew they'd turn up. And now, we should beat Huddersfield on Saturday. I'm sure we will. But there is that thing in your head. What if we don't turn up? Because it's happened. It happened over Christmas, didn't it? Against Southampton at home. It happened against Burnley at home. We were 2-0 down at half time. It happened at Huddersfield away. It's happened a few times. It happened after 10 minutes against Chelsea away. The players just dropped their heads, and you know, Mourinho even said it himself. At 1-0 we could have got back in the game. At 2-0 the heads dropped. Well, we went 2-0 down about, was it less than half an hour in? 2-0's when United, I don't know about you lot, but when United are 2-0 up, I'm not comfortable because I always think 2-0, sounds really stupid but it's true. If you're 1-0 up, sometimes 1-0 is more comfortable than 2-0 because at 2-0 if they score, it's 2-1, they're only one behind and they've got the momentum. Obviously 2-0 is better than 1-0, but you know what I mean? 2-0 is a dangerous score. It's always been a dangerous score because if they score, the momentum's with them and then they can be back level. So for Mourinho to even say the heads had dropped, and I think that was an observation more than a reflection on himself. I think he's saying, look, I could see the players, the heads had dropped and the game was gone at 2-0. Which is another bad reflection on the players that well, your head shouldn't go at 2-0. What I would have done, if I would have been on the pitch, and I'm sure many of you would have done, I'd have been very disappointed to be 2-0 down. But in my head, I would have been, this is a bloody joke. It's an injustice. The first goal was just bad defending. And the second goal, Phil Jones's head's gone. We're 2-0 down, but we've not been played off the park to be 2-0 down. Some might say we're unlucky to be 2-0 down because it's just stupid defensive errors. Let's sort this out. But United heads did drop. They do drop. And I think mentally, a lot of our team are weak. Mentally weak. I think if things go against them, the heads drop and they go. And I don't know whether that's lack of experience. Some of these players are new to the club, whether it's their personality, but we do miss absolute driver. And to be honest with you, I've said this a few times as well. I hope Fosu Mensah comes back and gets in the team because one thing I've seen from Fosu Mensah, and I'm sure a lot of you have, is that his effort levels and his tenacity and his speed and his aggression is unlike most players in our squad. And a lot of the things that the Crystal Palace fans love about Fosu Mensah is he does make the odd mistake. He plays fantastically well for them, but his effort levels and his aggression are fantastic. United need that sort of player. That sort of... He's almost like give him the captaincy now because he does drive into the team. He is fast, he's aggressive, he's tenacious, like I say, and that's sort of what we miss. Somebody that the fans can identify with and somebody who can sort of inspire the team. And it sounds stupid to say that about a kid, but Herrera sort of used to do it. He's gone off. He's gone missing. He has gone missing. Fosu Mensah's the new skull, says Shiva. It's not a Skype show tonight. Why skits? No. They did give up James Elliott, right. There has to be quite a few coming in the summer because Carrick Zlatan will be gone, says Thomas Charlton. Not the way Mourinho's talking. I don't think there will be. I mean, I'm going to do the. I'm going to do a predicted lineup show tomorrow because a lot of people have asked, can you just do a video that goes up in the day? And I'm going to do that. It'll only be about 10 minutes, but I'll put it up tomorrow. But, well, I'll talk about it tomorrow in relation to the lineup. But I've got an interesting theory on what we should do against Huddersfield at the weekend. The one thing I do want to say is that we've got to be very careful this weekend because it's very easy to start being frustrated. And even if we drop points against Huddersfield, which will be... for that moment and the hours afterwards, I'm sure we'll all have a lot to say about it. But let's not forget that this weekend and the start of next week is really... It's the 60th anniversary of the Munich tragedy. And whatever happens this season, it pales in significance into something like that, which defines our football club over longer than a season. It's with us forever. It'll be with us forever, and it's been with us since 1958. So we do need to sort of be together this weekend, no matter what Mourinho and the players deliver. And I would hope that we are not going to blow Huddersfield at home. That if they need any inspiration, and if any of them don't turn up on Saturday, they will be getting a ranting, rollicking from me, and I'm sure every one of you lot. Because if they don't turn up on the weekend, I'd kick them out the club in February. It's unacceptable. This is a big weekend for Manchester United, a big start to the week, and we need to be together as fans, and we need the players to replicate that and represent us in the shirt that we love, in the club that we love. So I'm hopeful about the weekend. We need to beat Huddersfield. And the funny thing is, I said it last night even before the game, we were 8 points ahead of Spurs before the game, which I think is quite significant already. It's down to 5 now. We'll beat Huddersfield on Saturday and Spurs will lose to Liverpool. And then it's back to 8 again. And 8 points on the first weekend of February is quite a significant gap. So we need to win at the weekend and get back on track. Snap says we must remain united. Actually, just very quickly, let me just give a shout out to the moderators tonight. We've got George Kyle, we've got Snaps, we've got Matthew McFadden, we've got Andrew Southwick, and we've got Brevy Boy, and I think Jared Pesserman now. So we've had a few changes in relation to the moderators. This happens every year or so on the United Stand. And they're all very welcome. And as I say, it's your channel. This is part of how the community works. So well done to those people for stepping up to the plate. There'll be more opportunities. Obviously, we do the Skype show as well. I want to thank people like Marcus and Beck, who was a moderator, who I removed as a moderator by accident last night because Marcus has left, and I thought Beck was friends with Marcus. Well, I think she is, and I thought that she wouldn't want to do it anymore. And then I hadn't seen Beck commenting for a long time, so I thought she hadn't been on anyway. So it was my mistake. I went to give it back, and she doesn't want to do it anymore. But I have seen her in the live comments. So thanks to Beck Howell for being a moderator for the last year or so. Marvin Kabari wants a shout out, and obviously thanks to Mad Marcus. We thought we'd got him back after his illness, and then he messaged me yesterday morning. I think he'd had a bit of a meltdown on his own YouTube channel and has sort of fallen out with social media after the usual trolls. Look, you got my advice to Marcus and my advice to every one of you is that there will be people out there, I get it a lot as you can imagine, who will say all sorts of things against you and call you all sorts of names. And the way to do that is block or come off social media. And unfortunately, Marcus has come off social media for now. He may be back in the future, but he's walked away for the moment. So sad about that. But the United stand goes on. As I say, it's your channel, and we'll have to crack on with it. But back to Manchester United. Yes. Can we please get a central defender, says Yo Mama. I mean, that's an interesting one. In relation to a centre-back, obviously, the Smalling and Jones came in for a lot of problems last night. But when you look at the amount of centre-backs we've got, Smalling and Jones, Bailly and Rojo, Lindelof, and then potentially Twansibi, that's 6 centre-backs. I don't think we need to go and sign a centre back. I think a centre back would be nice, but I don't think it's. You know, United aren't Man City. We can't just go and spend 50 million or 60 million on another centre back because one of them's injured. We're not. We're never going to spend that sort of money. I think we will only sign 2 players in the summer. And as far as I'm concerned, the biggest issue, and it was there last night, is that we haven't got a number 10. Lingard, you can think he's Messi Lingard if you want, but he's missing Lingard in the big games. And he's certainly not a number 10. Lingard is fantastic, as we saw against Yeovil and as we saw against Watford, against teams that give you space in and around that sort of number 10 position. Pass the ball into Lingard. He's brilliant at turning, running at the back 4, skipping past a couple of players and shooting and scoring. That is what Lingard's brilliant at, and that's his strength. And if you put him in the Championship or in a mid-table Premier League side, he probably would score 10 to 15 goals a season. Against the best teams, the top 6 teams, they will never, ever, ever, unless they're stretched because they're chasing the game, they will never, ever, ever allow the number 10 to get the ball and turn and run at their back 4. It won't happen. These are intelligent managers with top-class players, and they won't let it happen. And Spurs didn't let it happen yesterday. And Lingard became redundant because the one thing Lingard can't do, he hasn't got any guile, he hasn't got any creativity, and he's not particularly strong. So if he can't spin and run at the back 4, Lingard becomes just a good work ethic player. And he did work hard yesterday, but he just had no impact on the game. So Lingard is a problem in the big games because he's not a number 10. So we either need to put Sanchez in there, which I think in the short term is the best solution, or we need to go and buy a number 10. And I look at Man City and I think David Silva, De Bruyne. I look at Liverpool. They've obviously got options around that position as well. We've not had a number 10 at Manchester United for 4 years, and we need to go and get a number 10, a specialist number 10 who's got some guile about them. Now, I always felt Mata could do it, but Mourinho obviously doesn't, and Van Gaal never did. We've never really played him as a number 10. So if it's not going to be Mata, we need to go and buy a number 10. I'm not saying Lingard's finished. I still think at the weekend Lingard will probably get the space to turn and run at Huddersfield's back 4 and score 2 goals, and everyone will be saying Messi Lingard again. But guarantee you, when we play Chelsea, you won't be able to do it. When we play Man City, you won't be able to do it. Spurs, you won't be able to do it. Liverpool, you won't be able to do it. We need somebody who can play at number 10 who's got a bit of guile about them. We also need somebody who can play when Pogba doesn't play, whether he's injured, suspended, or doesn't turn up. They're the 2 big positions for me. Then we need somebody who can put a cross in the box. Then we need a centre midfielder who can sort of cover or take the place of Matic. Then we probably need a centre-back. So it's a long way down. And if De Gea goes, we need a goalkeeper. So centre-back is probably a luxury position that I wouldn't be looking at the moment because we've got so many okay centre-backs. I'm not saying they're good enough, but we've got lots of options there. Sally Devil Red, girl after my own heart here. She says Savic, Dybala and Fabinho. Oh, that would be a summer, that would. That would be a summer. Chad Sproul, would you take Lingard to the World Cup? Yes, I would. I think Lingard's more than good enough to play for England. I mean, England aren't that good, but Lingard's certainly... Look, Lingard would be sat on my bench at Manchester United. And as I've always said, The bench for Manchester United is not by any means a bad place to be. Solskjaer was on there and he was one of the best strikers in the world. So Lingard on the bench, I think Lingard's proved a lot of people wrong. He's not, you know, a championship player. He's a Premier League player. And in certain games, he's fantastic. But what was abundantly clear to me last night, and the concern I've had with Lingard for a long time, is he's not a number 10 because he hasn't got any creativity and he hasn't got any sort of magic about him. He's not a creator. He's an individual. And he scores really good goals, but against the best teams they won't let him spin and turn. And to be honest, if you've played football or you've played FIFA or you've got any knowledge of football, what decent team would ever let a number 10 spin and run at their back four? That should never happen anyway. We shouldn't let it happen, so why should anybody else? Lingard's probably better on the wing. He actually can put a cross in. I'd be thinking about Lingard on the right wing, to be honest. Sanchez, I'm talking about my team already. Not going to do that. We ain't going to do that. We're not going to do that. What about when Bailly comes back? You think the defence will improve? Says Nice Vid. Yes, there's always that concern about his fitness, but hopefully he will come back. Pogba's not a number 10. I agree with Ian Turlington. Pogba just needs the freedom to play in a midfield that's going to let him express himself as a box-to-box. D-Ghost, Lingard's a great squad player and that is fine. Lingard will run the right wing all day. Mark Sanchez should be number 10, says Mini Diver. Yeah, I think Lingard needs to move away from that number 10 position. Jared Pesserman, will Conte be sacked before Chelsea players? How great would it be if Chelsea struggle for the next couple of games before we play them at the end of the month? We'll beat Chelsea. We will definitely beat Chelsea. I can't wait for that game. Imagine the build-up for that game. They hate each other and it's been happening this season. And if United beat Chelsea, we can get him the sack. Imagine if Chelsea came and beat us, though. What it'd be like on the touchline. That could be hugely damaging to Mourinho. So that's 3 Premier League games time. That is going to be a cracking game. Can't wait for Chelsea at the end of the season. Did I tell you I was actually at that game last year, by the way? George Kyle will be going mad. Anyway, thanks everyone. I've gone over 8 minutes than I wanted to do. But tomorrow night we are going to be live at 8 o'clock as normal. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Drop a like on the video. We've had low likes tonight, so please do smash the like button. We've got a couple of thousand people watching, which is fantastic for a Thursday night. I know Thursday can be a slow night, especially after a poor game like last night. But do hit the like button. Let's see if we can get to 1,000 while I'm still gibbering on. We are back live tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Tomorrow I'm going to put up my predicted lineup, sort of a mini preview at 8 o'clock, around lunchtime. Probably get it up about midday. Ooh, pardon. Or should I put it up at 7 AM or should I put it up at midday? I don't know what to do about my predicted lineup. Let me know. Should we go for the 7 AM slot or should we go for midday? Let me know in the comments. I'll be down the pub after work tomorrow, so 8 o'clock. I'll have had a couple. And then, obviously, Saturday, 3 o'clock, is a Huddersfield game, which will be crap for people to watch in the UK. We will be doing a watch-along, but it's always a bloody nightmare. But we need to win that game. Big weekend for Manchester United. And obviously, we're off to Munich on Monday, which is going to be very poignant, obviously, and sad. It is a very sad time, but keep your eyes clued up on the United stand. We're doing a couple of things over the weekend. And then obviously some things on Monday, Tuesday as well. But thanks everyone for watching tonight. Let me know what time you want me to do that tomorrow, whether you want it up at midday or 7 AM. It won't be live, so maybe that will change people's minds. It won't be live. It will be a pre-record because I'll be back late. I'm in work tomorrow, so I'll be back at 8 live. Thanks everyone. Thanks everyone. I've seen the likes go up as well. 7 AM seems to be the way, so I'll put it up for. I'll have it up for you at 7 AM. Most men do. Thanks for watching, and see you all tomorrow.